continuity of a function. Good day and welcome to our class. We define a continuity of a function as follows. So this is the definition. We say that a function f of x is said to be continuous at s naught if f of x satisfies the following conditions. The first one, if f of x is defined at s naught, that is, if f of x is not giving us infinity when we put s naught there. So for instance, if you consider this one, s plus 3 over s minus 1. If you put s minus 1 here now, you will see that you have 4 into 1 minus 1. This is 4 over 0. And 4 over 0 is infinity. So in this case, we see that f of s is not divine at s is equal to 1. So that is why we are now saying that if f of s is divine at s naught. Also, if the limit of f of s exists, and finally, if limit of f of s naught tends to, if limit of f of s naught, limit of f of s as s tends to s naught, if is equal to f of s, that is, if what you get here is equal to what you get here, then if these three conditions are satisfied, then we say that this function is continuous at that point. Now let's take the following examples. So look at this example. Is f of s equal to this continuous at s is equal to 3? You have a question mark there. So the first one is that we need to find f of 3. That is, we put 3 here. This is 3 into 3 square minus 5. And if you do this, this will give me, this is 27 minus 5, and that is 22. Also, we need to find the limit. S tends to 3, f of s, which is 3s squared minus 5. You see that the limit will just be the same thing. So without stressing ourselves. So what we have now shown here is that limit of s tends to 3, f of s is same thing as f of 3. It satisfies this 3 property. Therefore, f of s is continuous. So if it satisfies one of it, or if it cannot satisfy all, then we say that f of s is not continuous. So it must satisfy this 3. Let's consider another example. So we have our example here, example 2 here. Discuss the continuity of this f of s at s is equal to 2, given that our f of s is equal to this. Now, the solution to the problem. Now, by definition, what do we mean by definition? That is, by what we have here. We see that f of s is equal to 4 at s is equal to 2 by definition. So this simply implies that f of 2 will be equal to 4. So it has said that when s is equal to 2, f of s is equal to 4. So now when s is not equal to 2, now the first property is satisfied. The first property that says that f of s must be defined at s naught. The first one is satisfied. Now let's consider the second property. For the second property, we now need to find the limit of s tends to 2. So f of x, and that will give me limit of s tends to 2. Our f of s is 3s squared plus 1 over 3s minus 1. So we find the limit here, we will see that we have 2 squared plus 1 over 3 into 2 minus 1. And that will give me 13 over 5. So thus, the second property is satisfied. The second property says limit of s, f of s as s tends to s naught exists. So you see that the limit exists too. So this one is divine. It satisfies the first one. This one exists. It satisfies the second one. Now finally, we will now observe that f of 2 is not equal to limit of s tends to 2 f of x, because this one gives me 4, this one gives me 13 over 5. So we can now conclude that therefore f of s is not continuous at s is equal to 2. So although it satisfies the first two property that the function is defined, which we have seen. The second one, the limit exists. But the third one, they are not equal. They must be equal to each other. In that case, f of s is not continuous. Or we say that it is discontinuous at s is equal to 2. Let's consider another example. Now, a function is defined by this, minus x, x2 minus x. Is defined by this if s is this and all those things. Is f continuous at s is equal to 0 and at s is equal to 1? Is s continuous there? Now let's find out. So solution. So the first thing is, let us find f of 0. So f of 0, we are going to get our f of 0 here. This will be minus 0. No, this is s is less than or equal to 0. So this is where we are going to pick it, which is 0. Also, we need to find f of 1. F of 1. F of 1 will be obtained here, which is 2 minus x, which is 2 minus 1. So our answer is 1. So let's keep that. So the next thing now is we need to find the limit as s tends to 0 and limit as s tends to 1. But in order to find the limit, remember we said that if the right hand limit is equal to left hand limit, then the limit exists. So in this case, we need to find this limit of s tends to 0 negative f of x. Remember, 0 negative means left hand limit. So we need to find it. Our f of s is at s tends to 0. This is less than or equal to 0. So even if it is this one, this is greater than 0, but this one is less than 0. So we are going to have minus x. So if we put 0 there, our answer is 0. Now, we need to find the right hand limit of f of x. So you will see that the right hand limit, that is when s is greater than 0, this is it here, which is x. So if you put s to be 0, you are going to have 0. So we can, since they are equal, we cannot say that therefore limit of s tends to 0 f of x is equal to 0. So and f of 0 is 0. So they are equal. Therefore f of 0 is equal to limit of s tends to 0 f of x. Everything is 0. Therefore, we can say that f of s is continuous at s is equal to 0. Similarly, we do the same thing for 1. So we need to look for this, the left hand limit of 1. That is when s is less than 1. So we pick this one. So that our answer is limit of s tends to 1 into x. You are going to pick this one. This is left hand is when s is less than 1. So that our answer here is 1. Also, we need to find limit of s tends to 1 plus. That is right hand limit. So this is when s is greater than 1. See, when s is greater than 1, we have this. We have 2 minus x. And if you put 1 there, we have 2 minus 1. That is 1. So we cannot conclude that therefore limit of s tends to 1, f of s will just be 1, since the left hand limit and right hand limit are equal. So therefore we cannot, and remember our f of 1 here is also 1. So we cannot conclude that therefore f of s is continuous at s is equal to 1. Now we will now consider the epsilon definition of continuous function. So we now have the epsilon definition of continuity of a function. So remember, under the normal definition that we gave the other time, we talked about limit. So definitely we can write definition of continuous function in terms of limit of epsilon. Now we have the following definition. A function f of s is said to be continuous at s naught, which is in a real number. If for every epsilon is greater than 0, there exists delta greater than 0, such that absolute value of s minus f of s naught is less than epsilon whenever this occurs. So this is just equivalent to the normal definition we gave under limit in our last class. So the proofs in it will not be that different from the one we have been doing before. So let's consider the following example. Now we have the example, prove that f of s equal to s squared is continuous at s2. So the first thing is we need to first find f of s2. F of s2 is 2 squared, which is 4. So we'll now start the normal way by saying if for every epsilon is greater than 0, there exists delta greater than 0, such that if you look at that, f of x minus f of s naught is less than epsilon. So for all s minus s naught is less than delta. So this implies our f of s is s squared minus our f of s naught is 4. Is less than epsilon. For all s minus s naught, our s naught is 2. It's less than delta. So the proof is just equivalent to what we did in our last class. Now, this one now I can write it as this: s minus 2 and then s plus 2 which I can still write as s minus 2. This s plus 2 here, I can write s plus 2 as s minus 2 plus 4. So let's say it's less than epsilon. Now from that place, you will see that s minus 2, s minus 2 plus 4, which is less than epsilon for all this whenever that happens. Now this one now, as usual, you can apply triangular inequality here. This is less than or equal to this thing, s minus 2 s minus 2 plus 4 will be less than or equal to s minus 2 plus 4. So that is if you apply triangular inequality to this one. So this is less than epsilon whenever that happens. Now, as usual, let's choose delta equal to 1. If we choose delta equal to 1, this is our delta from this place. So this will just be equal to s minus 2. This will become 1 plus 4 is less than epsilon whenever that happens. Now what we are saying is that what we have is this 5, this is 5 into s minus 2 is less than epsilon whenever this happens. Now from that place, so we will have that s minus 2 is less than epsilon over 5 whenever that happens. So if you now compare it with this as usual, so you will see that delta is equal to 3 epsilon over 5. So we can now say that we choose delta as minimum of 1 and epsilon over 5. So we have found the value of delta. So that means the function is continuous. Therefore, the function is continuous at s is equal to 2. So we have another example here. Show that f of s equal to sin s is continuous at any point in R. So solution. So let's suppose that f of s is continuous at point A in R. So suppose we want to show that sin s is continuous at any point A in R. So then for every epsilon is greater than 0, then if for every epsilon is greater than 0, there exists delta greater than 0 such that this happens. Now our f of s there is sin x minus f of a will just be sin a is less than epsilon whenever this occurs. Now, we need to expand this one. So we make use of trig identity here. So we know that this one, so that is sine A minus sine B. So that means we need to recall this. Sine A minus sine B is same thing as 2 cos A plus B, sine A minus B. So in that case, this one will just become 2 cos S plus A divided by 2, then sine S minus A divided by 2. So it's less than epsilon. So whenever this occurs. Now, I don't want to write, that's why I'm putting this sign there. We need to take note of some things. Let me write it like this. But cos, let me say, cos theta, absolute value of cos theta is same thing as half into e raised to power I theta. That is under complex number. E raised to power I theta plus e raised to power minus I theta. So, and this one by triangular inequality, it will be, let me bring the half out, it will be e raised to power I theta plus absolute value of e raised to power minus I theta. So from this place now, we are going to have this. Absolute value of exponential I theta will give me 1. Another absolute value of exponential minus theta will still give me 1. So this will give me 1. So what we are saying is that absolute value of cos theta is less than or equal to 1. So which we are going to apply in this place. So let me put this here. Hence, but before that, let us recall also. Let's recall that sin theta itself, we know that it's less than or equal to theta. So we are going to apply that here. So we can now say that hence 1 becomes, so that is our equation 1. What do you have this is our equation 1. So we are going to have this absolute value of 2 times 1, because the whole of this in the absolute value will be less than or equal to 1. That is why we have put 1 there. Now this one too, we have said that the sin theta here will be less than or equal to theta. So that is, this is our theta, this one is representing theta. So it's still the same thing as just saying S minus E divided by 2. It's less than epsilon whenever that occurs. Now, if you look at what is there, you observe that this cancels this. This will be S minus A is less than epsilon whenever S minus A is less than delta. So if you compare both sides, you see that delta is equal to epsilon. So since we can find delta, so which is epsilon, then hence sin S is continuous at every point in R, and that completes our proof. So another important thing under this continuity is intermediate value theorem. So we have the theorem here. We call it intermediate value theorem. Suppose f of s is continuous on this, and if f of a on this interval a closed interval a comma b, and if f of a is not equal to f of b, then giving a number how far that lies between f of a and f of b, there exists point c in this interval such that f of c will be equal to that alpha. So this is an intermediate value theorem. what intermediate value theorem is saying is that if you have a function such that in an interval such that the first function gives negative, the second function gives positive in that interval. So the function gives positive and negative in the interval. Definitely between them there must exist a solution there. Now let's prove the theorem. So let's prove the theorem. Now since this alpha lies between f of a and f of b, just like what we are told here, that this alpha lies between f of a and f of b, we need to consider two cases. So the first case is that we need to consider a case whereby f of a is less than alpha and alpha is less than f of b. So they said that alpha lies between them, so but we don't know which one will come first. So we need to consider the two cases, and a case whereby there's f of b here, there's f of a here. Now whenever we have this one, now this one will give me f of a minus alpha is less than 0, and f of b minus alpha is greater than 0. So this one is very easy to do. So this is what we have done there. F of a is less than alpha is less than f of b. So we know that this will be f of a is less than alpha, and alpha is less than f of b. Or let's do it here for better understanding. So this is f of a is less than alpha, and alpha is less than f of b. So from that place, if you bring this one in, we have f of a is minus alpha is less than 0. So that is how we got this. And this one too, alpha minus f of b is less than 0. So you have said that f of a minus alpha is less than 0. This one now, if you change it according to inequality, if you change it, I've changed this thing so it will be greater than 0. That's how we got this one. Now with what we get now, let us represent g. Let g of x, let it be equal to f of x minus alpha. That is all this, you can see f minus alpha, f minus alpha. So therefore we can say that g of a will be equal to f of a minus alpha, which will be less than 0, and then g of b, which is equal to f of b minus alpha. And f of b minus alpha is greater than 0. So what we are saying is that g of a is less than 0, and then g of b is greater than 0. So if such thing occur, so definitely there exists at least one number c in this closed interval such that g of c will be equal to 0. So what we are saying here is that they said in that interval g of a is less than 0. In the same interval, g of b is greater than 0. Definitely within them, there will be a point. G of a is less than 0. This one is greater than 0. Definitely there will be a point within this, such that will make g of c to be equal to be 0. Now remember, this is our g of x. Let's put it there. So this implies that g of s is equal to f of g of c will be equal to, if you put c here, this will be f of c minus alpha. But don't forget that g of c is 0. So this simply shows that f of c minus alpha is 0. And that simply means that f of c is equal to alpha. And that completes our proof. So for the case 2, you follow the same place. So case 2 will be that we'll consider a case whereby f of b is less than alpha is less than f of a. So you follow the same case. So if you follow the same story, So at the end of the day, you should arrive at this. So at that completes this proof. I will leave the second case as exercise. So have a nice day. Another important thing under continuity of a function is what we call uniform continuous of a function. So we'll consider that in our next video. Have a nice day. Welcome to our class, uniform continuous. Now, let f be a real value function. We say that f of s is uniformly continuous on a certain domain D. If for every epsilon is greater than 0, there exists a delta greater than 0 such that f of a minus f of b, that is, we pick a and b in a certain domain, and if it satisfies this property, if we can find delta there, for any 2 points we pick in a domain, then we say that f of s is uniformly continuous on that domain. Now let's consider the following examples. So we have our example here. Let s be an interval this, and let f of s be this. So we want to show that f of s is uniformly continuous on that. Now solution. So by definition, we say that if for every epsilon is greater than 0, so we have written it out already. So that is by definition of uniformly continuous function. Now, so we need to pick two points A and B. Now, so let's choose A and B in this such that 0 is less than A, is less than or equal to 1, and 0 is less than B, is less than or equal to 1. So that is, we pick A inside this place, and also we pick our element B inside this place. So it will be written in this format. So what we are saying here is that A, absolute value of A will be less than or equal to 1, and absolute value of B will be less than equal to 1. So, or we can say that absolute value of A plus B will be less than 1 plus 1, which is 2 if we add the two together, and if we apply triangular inequality. Now let us now substitute what we have here. F of A, our f of s is s square. F of A will just be a square minus f of b will be b square, is less than epsilon. So for all A minus B is less than delta. Now this one can be written as A minus B, and absolute value of A plus B is less than epsilon for all these things. Remember, we have said it here, we have applied triangular inequality. This one is same thing as absolute value of A is less than or equal to absolute value of A plus absolute value of B, which is 2. So this is just 2A minus B is less than epsilon for all this. So which implies that absolute value of A minus B is less than epsilon over 2. So if you compare it, that is A minus B is less than delta. If you compare, we have that delta is equal to epsilon over 2. So since you have found delta, which depends on epsilon, therefore we cannot write, we need to write it that therefore f of s is uniformly continuous on this. We'll need to write it like that. So let's consider another example. So we have another example here. F of s equal to this, s over s plus 1. We want to show that f of s is continuous, is uniformly continuous on this closed interval. Now, so solution. So we need to write the usual story. So if for every epsilon is greater than 0 and all this thing happens. Now, so we need to choose our, let's choose point A and B in this. that is in this interval such that 0 is less than or equal to a, is less than or equal to 2, and then 0 is less than or equal to b, is less than or equal to 2. But don't forget that in this function we have s plus 1. Definitely we need a plus 1 there. So this will be 0. If you add 1 to both sides, this will be 1 is less than or equal to a plus 1, is less than or equal to 3. This one too is 1 is less than b plus 1 is less than or equal to 3. So, but you see that it's at the denominator. So if you take reciprocal of both sides, so this will come to be like this. 1 over 3 is less than 1 over a plus 1 is less than or equal to 1. And this one too will be 1 over 3 is less than 1 over b plus 1 is less than 1. So from that place now, I can just say that absolute value of 1 over 3 is this is less than 1 over 3. So also, sorry, it's less than or equal to 1. This, I've just picked this, and absolute value 1 over absolute value of this is a plus 1. This one too, b plus 1 is less than or equal to 1. So let's keep it. So I cannot come to this place. I cannot come to this place. So this is f of a. F of a will be a over a plus 1 minus f of b that is there will be b over b plus 1, because our f of s is this. F of a will now be a over a plus 1. So this is less than epsilon for all a minus b is less than delta. Our aim is to find the value of a. Now, if you simplify, this will give me ab minus a plus a. This is minus ab minus b over, this should be a plus 1, b plus 1 is less than epsilon for all this thing happens. This can just be written as a minus b, because this and this is gone. So divided by absolute value of a plus 1, absolute value of b plus 1 is less than epsilon for all this. But don't forget that we have said that 1 over absolute value of a plus 1 is less than or equal to 1. So we'll take this to be 1, this one too to be 1, because we have just proved it. So this thing will just be the same thing as a absolute value of a minus b is less than delta for every a minus b is less than epsilon, like that. So this one is 1, this one is 1, 1 times 1 is 1. So we have shown it here. So from that place, if you compare, you see that delta is equal to epsilon. So in that case, since you have found delta, you write the story too. Since you have found delta to be equal to epsilon, so you can now say that this function is uniformly continuous on this. So another example, we want to show that this function divided by this is uniformly continuous on this closed interval. So as usual, we need to write the story. So we have written the story. For every epsilon is greater than 0, there exists delta greater than 0, such that if you pick two elements a, b in the domain, this is the domain we are talking about, then this will happen. Now, this will implies f of a. Before we even go to this, we need to, so let's choose points a and b such that I'll just pick a inside these two. It will be minus 2 is less than a is less than 2, less than or equal to, because it's a closed interval. That's why we are using less than or equal to there. Now we do the same thing for b. So what we are now saying is that a is less than or equal to 2, that is absolute value of a is less than or equal to 2. And also for this one, absolute value of b is less than or equal to 2. Since our b and a are less than or equal to 2, I cannot come back to this. So therefore, f of a, our f of x is this. This will be 2a squared minus 3a plus 5. So what we have here is minus f of b. That is, to put b to be here. That is 2b squared plus 3b minus 5 is less than epsilon. For all ab, a minus b is less than delta. Now, if you continue that, so we will see that this will become 2a squared minus 2b squared minus 3a plus 3b is less than epsilon for all this. I don't need to rewrite it. Now, observe that 2 is common. This is a square minus b square is same thing as a minus b, a plus b. Also, minus 3 is common. This is minus 3 into a minus b is less than epsilon whenever this occurs. Now, we observe that a minus b is common. So let's factorize it. This will be a minus b into, it will remain this left. This will be 2a plus 2b. And factorize, so it will remain minus 3 left. It's less than epsilon for every day. So don't forget the absolute value of a alone is this. Absolute value of b alone is this. So let's put it there. So this is a minus b. This one, by triangular inequality, I can still put them to be, it can still be less than or equal to this. 2a plus 2b plus minus 3 is less than epsilon whenever this occurs. This will be absolute, this absolute value of this 2 times, this will be 2 times 2. Let me put bracket. And let us continue from the new page. Now, this implies absolute value of a minus b into, the first one will be 2 times absolute value of a. And we have shown that it is less than or equal to 2. So we'll just put the 2 there. 2 times 2 for b2. But this one is 3. Absolute value of minus is plus. It's less than epsilon whenever that occurs. So don't forget that if you simplify that, this is 4, this is 4, this is 8 plus this, and we have 11 there. It's less than epsilon. So this will just be a minus b is less than epsilon over 11. So for all a minus b is less than delta. If you compare both sides, you will see that delta is equal to epsilon over 11. So since you can find delta, so in that case, since we can find delta which depend on epsilon, so in that case, we cannot conclude that therefore this function is uniformly continuous on this. So you can take the following as an exercise. So we have the exercise. Show whether the following functions are uniformly continuous on the given domain. This one on this one on this. So like that. So have a nice day.